So again, if you just joined, we would love to see your faces, and you can chat. I see that Honey asked if we're going to get the recording at the end. Yes, if you're here or if you registered, you will get this recording at the end, but stay on so that you get the treat that we have for you for anyone who's actually here. So let's start with, I spoke to you the first time a couple weeks back, right? And I asked you your story because I was like, what you're doing looks great. I came across your website. I got a personal recommendation from someone who told me, hey, you should check out this guy. He's doing this amazing course. But I was like, well, let's talk. Like, I want to judge for myself. So we got on the phone, and then it took about 5 minutes for me to be convinced that like I for sure wanted to recommend your course. So there, I think I asked like your career background. I was like, what made this like Chabad guy from Texas, who I think you told me that you were thinking of becoming a rabbi originally. So what made you become like the owner of a digital marketing company and then decide to open this course up to the public?
Sure. So I think it goes back, my parents, so I'm actually a child of immigrants. You don't think about that, right? Being 30 years old. But my parents came from South Africa to the United States with like $2,000 and really like made this amazing life for themselves. So I kind of like had like that entrepreneurial, amazing, parents to look up to. But, my involvement in digital started as early as like 7th and 8th grade. I built my school's website. And then my parents, they launched their first website in 1999. So, moving past that, I went through the yeshiva system and I got my smicha, became a rabbi. Didn't want to actually go ahead and, make my parnasa or my money, my livelihood from that. So I decided to go get my MBA, Master's in Business. And while I was studying, I really, fell in love with digital marketing. I had a really good internship at a really large e-commerce company here in Houston, which eventually ended up getting purchased by Home Depot. So a pretty cool company. And so once I graduated, sometimes you think when you get an MBA, you're going to graduate and get a 6-figure salary at some huge company. For me, that didn't work out, but my luck, went a different way. And that was, I started consulting, with digital marketing. And I found my place in different, in different areas. I helped develop the digital marketing department at a software company. And then in 2017, I really took Optage, which is my digital marketing agency, and started growing it. And thank God for the past 4 years, it's been growing really strong. Now, on the other side, I'm really into education. So kind of what we spoke about is, I think, before I got married, I wanted to get a master's in education, be like a Rebbe or a high school, principal. And then, both my wife and I decided, that's maybe not the way that we want to go. But my passion for teaching has always been there. So it was pretty cool. 5 years after I graduated from the University of Houston, they called me back and invited me to come back to the university to actually teach, because they felt when a subject like digital marketing, it's one thing to have a theoretical PhD to come teach it, but they really wanted someone who actually knows and is actually doing it, right? So they invited me to come teach, and I've been teaching graduate level digital marketing courses, really developing the syllabus between me and my co-professor for the past 5 years. And I really, really enjoy it. And it's just amazing. And part of what I enjoy is, I have people from all different walks of life who are in my class. People who used to be teachers, people who are in nonprofits, people who like oil and gas. I mean, it makes no difference. But when I have like those 5 or 6 students each semester who like just fall in love with digital marketing, they get so inspired, and then they go out and they get jobs. It's everything to me. Like, that's why I do it. It's really, really cool. So, kind of pivoting now to Odeo. So the fact that I've done this course for 5 years at the University of Houston, I felt it was time, why only offer this to people who go to university? Why not open it up to just the general public and give them the opportunity to study digital marketing, and not just take a theoretical course, but also something that can hopefully provide them with some practical experience and really give them the opportunity to go and make a career out of it.
That's crazy. Now, Danny, don't listen to this for a second, but I don't know if all of you guys were listening and you heard how he just like nonchalantly was like, yeah, so like I built my school's website when I was in 7th grade. And then like I was consulting, like who consults while they're in college and then goes straight out and opens their own company. And then gets called back by their own college to be a professor. I mean, nobody called me when I graduated college to be a professor. So, what I like most about him, which is really like one of the things that I look at when I'm partnering with someone, is if they're humble. And I would say that you have that in spades, which is a funny thing to say. But I really like the fact that you, I don't know, I don't think you see this as a big deal, but I see it as a really big deal that you just like went out, and clearly this was something that you're naturally so good at. That you know have a thriving business. I mean, if anyone hasn't checked out optage.com, look at it. It's amazing business. And I saw that some of your employees are actually were your former students. So that just goes to prove that, I mean, he's successful on both ends. So yeah, I really love this. So tell me, because I don't really know what I'm talking about when I say like digital marketing. Like I know, like I post on LinkedIn, but I don't know much else. So I'm assuming I'm hopefully not the only one here who doesn't really know what they're talking about. Like just break it down for like us, like, you know, what is digital marketing for dummies, please?
Sure. So when we look at digital marketing, it's basically the idea of generating business online, right? And I would say that we can divide that into two areas, and then we'll go ahead and divide those two areas into another two. So we'll talk about four areas in short. But in short, there are paid aspects of digital marketing and organic aspects. Paid means that you have to, it's more of it, the advertising space. And that's going to be both like ads on Google, where we all know we go to Google and we see ads on top. Some people don't even notice that it's ads on top. But the point is there is an advertising part of Google. So we call that like the paid search. And then there's also the advertising side of social media. So you can run ads on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Snapchat, TikTok. So those are all, and that's also an area of paid advertising. And if you want to quickly explain the difference between the two, paid search, people are proactively looking on Google for your products and services. So to be there at that point in time, Google often refers to it as a zero moment of truth. But to be there at that point where they're looking for a plumber or they're looking for something and you're there and you can solve their problem, that's really powerful. So that's why in many ways we say like Google ads or ads on search engines is like the best place to be. But in addition to that, not every product or service is always searched, right? Sometimes you come up with a new thing and you have, so how are people going to find out about that? That's where, and it's not the only reason why you'd want to use Facebook or let's say Snapchat, but then you can find people who are right in your demographic, right? It's women who are 35 to 44. They love to ski, they like to go outdoors, and therefore this skirt or this blouse is going to be really great for them. And that's going to be the reason that you're going to want to do paid social by taking all the data that you have on people and figuring out the right demographic and then going in and advertising to them. So that's the paid side of thing. Then we have the organic side. Now, organic means natural. Now, I don't want to say that it's free because when someone does organic marketing, you still have to pay someone to do it. Or even if you're doing it yourself, your time is money, right? Every hour you spend, that's money. So let's not call organic marketing free marketing, but the idea is that's where on the search engines, where we're trying to take our website and make it show up on the first page of Google. Because we all know how many of us go to the second or third page. The only people who do that are geeks like me. But everyone else, they're on the first page. If they didn't find what they want, they go ahead and search for something else. So the first part of organic marketing is going to be search engines, making sure that your website shows up on the first page for the products and services that you're trying to sell. And then we have the organic side of social media, which we're all very familiar with. And Shayna is an influencer in this space, but going ahead and posting on Facebook, posting on LinkedIn, posting on Twitter, and organically, right? You're not paying for that, but you're just being involved. And so that's sort of the organic side. So basically what we have is a grid of four, right? We've got the organic side, the paid side. We have marketing that's related to the search engines, and then we have marketing related to social media. And that in a nutshell will cover the basics of digital marketing.
Okay, so I think I got like the basics of what you said, but when I finish your course is really what I want to know. I'll know how to do all of that.
So specifically our course, we focus on 3 out of the 4 areas. So we focus on search engines, both organic and paid. And then when it comes to social media, we focus on the paid side. So the organic side of social media, that's not an area that we particularly focus on. Doesn't mean that it's not important. Doesn't mean that's not an area that you can do very well in, but that's just not an area that we've carved out in the course.
Got it. Okay, amazing. So that sounds fun. And I want to hear a little bit more of like what a regular day looks like, because like on a day-to-day basis. But first, like, I think the question that more people want to know is like, tell me about the earning potential, right? Like, I'm guessing people here, I don't see, I mean, from the people who I recognize, not a lot of entry level people here. These are people who have had good careers, good jobs, strong backgrounds, right? I mean, and if you're new, then great, then this is probably more of a no-brainer. But you're coming from a solid career, and you're probably here because you're considering whether you want to go out in a new direction, maybe start some like freelance business, maybe because of your the economy changed your current job situation, you want to have better options, in which case I think that this is a great one. But what is the earning potential realistically? What does this look like? So I finished your course. It's how long?
So the course is 15 weeks.
Okay.
And the idea is that the actual lectures and work is for 11 weeks. And then there's a final project, which we give you another month to do. So if you think about it, it's really an 11-week course, but then for weeks 12 to 15, that's when you focus on your final project.
So let's say I'm considering this. So the course is going to start April 11th?
Yes.
So April 11th, then count for me because I can't do that. So when?
Yeah, it's going to be around in the middle of July.
Got it. So like midsummer, I'll have this able. So then, okay, great. So now I'm going to put together my resume. You guys can come talk to me, figure out which job is best, and then I'm ready I'm ready to look for a job. How much can I expect to earn?
So before I answer that question, I want to just first talk about the 4 areas that you can go into, right? Because that's also going to change a little bit about the earning potential. But the cool part about this is that, some jobs, it's like, if I'm an accountant, I'm going to get, there's only really 1 or 2 areas that I can go. But here you really have 4 areas, which is pretty amazing. And even in those 4, there's lots. But number 1, you can go ahead and work for a company, right? Think about how many businesses we have in Lakewood that are looking for help, right? They need someone to help them with their marketing, right? And you don't even know what they need. But the point is, so number 1 is you would go in, and when you go in, either you're going to be managing the marketing on your own, or you may go and work with an outside agency. But think about it this way: even if a business works with an agency, they still need someone in-house to pull the strings and know what's going on, because they don't want to be ripped off by that agency, or they still, I say that a agency business relationship is like a shidduch, really, because, each side has to give a little bit, and it's sort of, but the point is, so if that, guy or gal in Lakewood doesn't have the time to manage things in-house, they really need someone. So just sort of an example. But so we have in-house, then we have agency, right? Agency is like a business that I run, where you're a company and you work with a lot of different businesses, right? I work with healthcare companies, I work with plumbers. So that's a cool job for people who want to go and work with a lot of different industries. And usually agency life is a little hectic and it's fast paced. There's a lot going on. So it's not for everyone, but it is exciting if you like to, be involved with a lot of different things. So that's number 2. Number 3, which is a really cool option, is freelancing. You yourself going ahead and starting your own business. And, when we look at the numbers, and I'll go back to like if you get a job, but think about a freelancer. I like to give an example of a really close friend of me and my wife. She's a single mom. She used to be the secretary at the local day school here in Houston. And she wasn't really feeling like she was getting anywhere, but she had this drive and creativity. So I remember sitting down with her at a coffee shop and saying, like, you can do this. You can go out and you can start managing people's social media. And she did. She went ahead. I'm not taking all the credit at all, God forbid, because she was the one who did it. But amazing. She was able to buy a house. She was able to, support her 3 kids. And thank God she's doing really well. But what does that mean, like practically? So imagine, you have 20 clients who are each paying you $500 a month, right? That's $10,000 a month, which is a pretty good income. And even let's say if you only had 10 clients at $1,000, right? Let's say you're doing more for them and you can only manage 10, that's still 10,000. And even if, like, let's say you've got 4 clients at 2,500 because you're doing a bunch of things with them, maybe you're hiring someone else. But the point is, there is a lot of potential to be a freelancer. And I'm not saying that it's easy necessarily, right? Because anything in life, you have to work hard. And obviously there's God's blessing, right? Hashem's blessing. But the potential to do this is there. And the nice thing about our community in general, the digital marketing community, is there's so much business out there that usually, like, you're not enemies with the guy across the street, because, there's enough business for me, enough business for you, and people are very open to sharing and helping each other out. So I know I've kind of veered off, but that's number 3. Number 4 would be let's say you want to start your own business. So there may be some people on the call here who actually run small businesses, but they don't know what the first thing to do. So by taking a course like this, they can learn the basics of digital marketing and either do it themselves, or when the time is right, go and hire the right person, and they'll know what it's all about so they can move forward. So now moving back to the earning potential. So like I said, if you're a freelancer, then, we're talking about potentially $10,000 a month, more or less, depending on what it is. But let's say you're going to go work in a business or maybe work in an agency. So sometimes it depends on the role, because like sometimes there's, you're focusing on search engine optimization or maybe paid advertising. You might be a manager managing a lot of people, but I would say like the entry sort of level salaries is around 45 to 50 to start, but that's average across the United States. If you look at New York and New Jersey, which I imagine a lot
guys,
of you,
double that. That's double.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. In New York and New Jersey, we're doubling that. So starting salaries are really, really good. But the potential goes up from there, right? The more experience you get, the more it's under your belt, the more you're going to be managing people, the more you're doing different things. I mean, we're talking about 125, 150, right? And eventually, if you're top notch and you could be a CMO, a chief marketing officer of a company, I mean, we're talking about 250, 300, right? Or even higher. So, I mean, there's lots to go. The point is, this is not a dead end, right? There's lots of opportunity. Now, once again, it doesn't necessarily mean you get in, it's automatic, but everything in life, we have to put hard work and effort. But the point is, the path is there, the opportunity is there. The question is, you're going to grab it and go for it.
Honestly, it's like so crazy. I feel so bad for like generations that are not alive now, or even that are just like 20 years older than we are, because like they just like, when I tell my grandmother like what I do from home, she's just like mind blown, right? Like you can easily make $10,000 a month, like just sitting on like something that they don't even think is like real. Like what's Instagram, right? Like it's crazy. And I know that the numbers you're speaking of are real because, I have plenty of clients who hire social media managers. And I love the point that the fact that you pointed out that business owners should take this, because I know you're not specifically marketing this to business owners,
right?
But I've seen so many people get ripped off by people who tell them they're going to do SEO. And like, what does that even mean? And like, what is like you said, like if you're not like on page one, you might as well be like a dead body, right? Because like no one's going to find you. So you just I've seen a lot of people who don't actually know what they're doing. So for a business owner, even if I'm not going to do my own, I'm really interested, when you said that, I'm thinking like, yeah, that would be really cool to know how to do my own instead of just spending a lot of money on somebody else. I see that Rafi asked a great question. It's something that I have in mind. Please type in your questions. You can do it privately to me if you want me to announce it anonymously as we're speaking, and we'll make sure to get to every single question before the end. Amazing. Okay, so the earning potential is exciting. And like you said, like you have to put in some work, but guys, like compared to, any degree that you could get that could earn you a six-figure salary, I don't know anything else that by July you could be taking on clients, right? So, so that's cool. Now, what I'm confused about is, like you said, like you could become a CMO, right? Now, there are jobs or companies that I know that are looking for CMOs who want someone with a marketing degree. Now, I know other companies who are looking for just like a digital marketer or a social media manager who don't care. But do you really think that you could get to being a CMO with just taking this course and getting some experience?
I mean, I think that's a good point. It depends, right? I think right off the bat, it might be difficult, but the point is that when you start off and you start to build that experience, I feel like the degree means less, right? So the question is, why do we get the degree? Because it helps us get in through the door, right? Why do we take a course to help us get into the door? Once we get there, it depends. Like sometimes like a master's degree is a requirement. That's the only time where you can join the executive board or something like that, right? But I feel like it's definitely possible, but sometimes no matter what you want, people want the degree, right? So, but it's not for this sort of thing. It's really about, do you know your stuff? Because think about it, the colleges aren't really teaching it well. You know what I'm saying? So like, I'm happy to say that my course at University of Houston is top notch. And I know, like, I actually, like, my students go to my competitors in Houston, like literally.
Wow.
So, but the point is that like, I'm not putting down universities, and I'm sure that there's some good programs out there, but the majority of them, it's like a theoretical course, right? But are they actually getting the skills that they need and figuring things out? So I would say no. So it just,
Right. I love it that for your students, they get that, because I always tell people, I'm like, do your professors actually know what it's like in the real world? They have no idea. So I guess that's what makes your course so good. Yeah, and degrees are less and less valuable. I think that that's a good answer. I think that the answer really that I'm hearing you say is if your parents insist on you getting a degree, so get one to make them happy. But really, if you can show I worked at X, Y, and Z company and I took their marketing and I used this budget to grow their subscribers or whatever by X and Y, they don't really care where you got your training from, right? Okay, so I like that. Good. I see some direct messages are coming in. We're going to address them. Now you covered what kinds of jobs, and now I want to go through like a day in the life. So I'm sure your day in the life has changed from when you were just in college taking on consulting to running a company. But just like what could we expect? So say we look for a job and then say I get like an agency job. I decide like for the first year I want an agency job to get experience in a bunch of different industries until I choose like my niche. And then maybe I decide that I'm going to do digital marketing for coaches and then I'll go that route. So like what would a regular day at work, like what am I actually doing? Because I think that people, think that it's like a bunch of like fun and they just don't realize what goes on behind the scenes in every industry.
Yeah,
right?
totally.
So what do you actually do all day? Like take pictures?
I mean, there's some people who take pictures, but so let's talk about, remember, it really depends the role that you go into, but let's talk about a couple of the things that you could theoretically do, right? Now, it's sort of like a disclaimer. You might not do all these things, right? But some of these things you'll definitely do, and it'll just give you sort of a taste, right? So number one, optimizing a website so that it shows up higher on Google. What does that mean? That means looking at the code of the website or looking at the content. Do we have the content that's required in order to show up for the products and services? Now, you might not be the writer, but you might be the writer. So you're going to write additional content that's targeted, or you might create at least the brief. What's required in this content for us to show up? And then you might have a writer that you're going to hand that off to. So generating content is a big part of it. And whether that's, that could be video, it could be podcasts, it could be audio, it could be infographics. So, sometimes you're the one who's doing it, or you're strategizing and then handing it off to the right person. Now, in the world of advertising, they're setting up and creating Google or Microsoft ad campaigns, as well as setting up and creating Facebook and Instagram ad campaigns. And even in that, when we're talking about ad campaigns, there's two rooms there, right? There's the people who are more of the creative types. So they're going to be maybe the ones who actually create the ads. They're writing what the ads actually say or creating the graphics. The other people who are, let's say, are stronger on an analytical side, they're the ones who are going to be looking at the data and analyzing. And so most people were a little bit of both, right? We got some creativity, we have some analytical. So I'm going to do a little bit of both. And you might get some help on the areas that you're not as strong, but you'll get a chance to create the ads, but also look at the data and optimize. Whatever's working, let's push more money there. Whatever's not working, let's turn it off. Now, when it comes to like social media, you might be creating a content calendar. We know, like with social media, sitting down and having to think every single day, what should I post, right? But if you sit down at the beginning of the month and actually plan it out, what am I gonna do this week, next week? What am I doing on Monday and Tuesday? So that's what digital marketers do. They create content calendars, and that's for social media posts or blog posts or emails, right? So that's a cool concept. Another thing which we haven't touched upon is Google Analytics, or an analytic program, but which is a free tool that you can add to your website. But you can take a look at the data and see, okay, where are people coming from? What do they do when they come to my website? And have they done what I wanted them to do? Did they fill out the form? Did they contact me? So you can look at the data and see, okay, which programs are working better, right? I know I'm about to give an example of offline marketing, but you can do some cool stuff with that as well. But did the ad in Ami magazine do better than the ad in Mishpacha? Because you put a special code in there, and you can actually now see in Google Analytics how many people actually came from which magazine, which is pretty cool. So you can use Google Analytics, like I said, to track the effectiveness of social media and your marketing campaigns. Now, for those people who are more extroverts, right? You're going to meet with clients to define their digital marketing strategy, hear their problems, help them out. Some of digital marketing, there's room for the extrovert and the introvert. So some people are going to be sitting behind the data or like just going ahead and writing, but then there's those people to be more customer facing. So, and you might do the work, you might not, but maybe you're just there and being like an account manager. You have the knowledge of everything, and you're helping people out, which is pretty cool. So that's another area. And then I think, I guess the final point is, with any marketing, what's so important is to know who is your target market, right? So a big part of digital marketing is to develop a target persona, or who is that person that we're marketing? So creating that out, doing the research. What do they like? What do they watch? What do they read? And then taking that data and applying it to everything that you do. So that's another thing that a digital marketer will be working on. So as you can see, there's a lot of different things, but the cool part is that there's room for everyone. So I know Rachi had a question, like, what are the natural skills that someone needs for digital marketing? And the answer is, the cool part is there's room for everyone, right? There's analytical people, there's creative people, there's people in the middle. If you're a writer, if you're a copywriter, I mean, we need those people in digital marketing. So it a lot of times it depends what the job requirement is, right? Sometimes the job might require more of a creative side or more of an analytical side, but the idea is there are jobs in all areas, and you just have to find the area that's going to work well for you.
So cool. So like, as you're speaking, I'm trying to analyze like, okay, so it's going to be that personality or those skills, and you're not letting me do that.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
So I'm going to change the question.
No
I'm going to
problem.
ask you, so who would be a terrible fit for this? Like, who should watch out and say like they wouldn't be good for this?
I think someone who doesn't want to work hard, right? I think, some jobs are just literally like, I come into the office, I, punch numbers, or, I'm managing something, and then I go home, right? I think in this realm, things are changing so quickly, right? Like the way that I could advertise on Facebook a month ago is not the way I'm going to be allowed to advertise in a month from now. Like, so someone who's excited with change and is willing to work hard, and likes to be excited every day and challenged, that's the right person. So whether you're creative or analytical, that's not the issue, right? Because there's a place for you. It's just a matter of like, are you willing to get into this world, which is really exciting, but it can be challenging.
Right. I think that is a pretty good differentiator because you do need a certain level of creativity. Like if you're the kind of person who really just wants, like you called it, like maybe not working hard, but I would define it maybe as someone who likes to sort of like, this is your training and this is what you're expected to do. And then you do it repetitively, like someone who just like sort of wants to know what to expect, right? Like if you're the kind of person who wants to say, like be able to map out their year, but you can't do that because like Clubhouse wasn't around a few months ago and now it is. And now you're expected to be able to teach your clients how to use it. Right. I mean, although it sounds like you could be someone who maybe is like the content writer. And then if you like writing, you don't necessarily have to constantly change things because you could have gotten really good at like understanding the market and personas and your writing skills. So it does sound like there is room for people like that, but creativity is a must, right? If someone says like, I don't have much of an imagination, or I don't come up with new ideas regularly, they're not gonna love it.
Potentially. And that's why, like, but they might say that I'm very analytical, right? But sometimes analytical is creative as well, right? So
yeah.
So it depends, because some of digital marketing is just analyzing data, right? Looking at the trends, looking at what's working and optimizing. So sometimes we don't think that that's creative, but kind of is. So it just depends. But yeah, I like the way that you presented it.
Right. It's funny, by the way, like I think people, it's a very dangerous word to use, creativity, because
right.
Like a lot of us grew up and like if we weren't good in art class or drama, then we just think that we're not creative. But creative means like, like I need to go, I don't know, making a birthday party, what should the theme be? Like it could be from there or to like, I need a new way to like set up this, I don't know what, anything. And think like it could come across as like problem solving, right?
Exactly.
Like the analytics, the numbers are showing that our customers are doing this. What should we do a reaction? You can analyze it and seem like this a little bit like you might consider yourself more of that like geeky brain, but that's creative if you can come up with a solution.
Right. So creative doesn't mean Photoshop, right?
Right.
Creative, like I think like the way you put it, problem solving, right? That's also creativity.
Right. Okay. Now there's a couple of really good questions that we're going to answer about what should you do if you don't have any experience, good skills, do you help with job placement? So we'll go through all that in a minute. One question though that I'm curious about is that I've sent people to digital marketing courses in the past, and I've never had like a really good recommendation to make. So I've told people like, hey, I think you would be really good at this. This seems to be a good fit. I don't know who to recommend, but like poke around, I don't know, Coursera, Udemy, YouTube, like You know, you can go to the local college and take courses. So there are tons of these courses out there, right? So I don't have anything for like to compare and say like, why are you better than them? But tell me, like, why are you better than other courses out there?
Sure. So I think let's talk about the combination that I'm offering, which I feel is going to be a little bit, which makes us better and stand out from, let's say, the crowd. So number one is all of the videos are pre-recorded. And so I mean, obviously there's other courses that are pre-recorded, but number one, you can do it in your own time. But in addition to that, we do have a weekly live Q&A so that it's not just pre-recorded, but you have the option to come and there is a cohort, a group of people that are all working together and to ask your questions and to speak it out. And in addition to that, we also have a Slack channel. So for those who don't know what Slack is like a messaging app, but basically the whole group, everyone who's taking the course together, it has access to the Slack channel. So you're going to get access to your peers. If you have a problem, you don't just have to ask me and my team, but you can ask your friends as well. And these people are going to become your friends because you're going to be doing this course with them for, a good couple of weeks. So a lot of these courses are kind of like on your own, but here you have this community that you can, if you have questions, you're not going to feel stuck and it's support, right? We're all doing this together. In addition to this, we're not just looking at watching videos, but every single week we have a quiz and a challenge. And that challenge is, think of it as homework. You're taking what you're studying and you're going to have to now go ahead and actually do a homework assignment and actually implement what you're learning. And not only are you going to fill that in, but you're going to submit it. And then me and my team will actually review that and give you feedback, which is really, really cool. And then to sort of add sort of the cherry on top that is why we have a final project at the end of the course. So from weeks 12 to 15, we make this really cool final project where you get to choose a business, whether it's your own business, your husband, your cousin, it could be even a theoretical business or just someone you want to work with. And literally, you're going to take everything that you've learned in the whole course and apply it to this business. And imagine putting together like a 10 to 20 analysis and strategy and literally create this portfolio, which should take you a year and a half, right? To get that experience to do, and then say, hey, can I get a job because I have a year and a half of experience? But what I'm trying to do is get that experience and kind of bring it into that 15 weeks so that when you're done, you have this portfolio and you literally can go to someone and say, look what I did, look what I can do, give me a chance. Because
could I be somebody's sample business?
For sure, Shayna.
This sounds so cool.
But
yeah.
But the idea is that, like, and I know you know this, right? But some of the challenges that we have today when it comes to getting a job is like you need the experience in order to get the job, but you need the job in order to get the experience. So what we're trying to accomplish here is how can we give you experience, right? And kind of get it into a point where, it's not a year, but it's 15 weeks and you'll have something really that you can then show. Now, you might not be the world's expert, but you've got all the tools now to be successful.
Right. Like what you will be able to say, nobody knows that was your project. When you're talking to people and trying to market yourself for a job, right? You're at an interview or you're trying to freelance. You're able to say, oh, look at Shayna Karen's website. Did you notice that her analytics used to be down here and now they're all the way up there? Like that was my work, and be able to show exactly what you did. And then people say, oh, if that's your client, right? And you did that, sure, I'll be your next client, right? It's like such a no-brainer. Yeah, I usually, by the way, don't sound like a man. I lost my voice today, so I hope I'm clear.
You're fine, Shayna.
Okay, so a few really good questions are coming in. I want to know, okay, this is just like a technical question, but it's important. Do you need to pay for anyone who takes this course? Are they gonna have to buy any computer programs that they don't have?
So during the course itself, you don't have to. So we actually get, at the beginning of the course, we have 1 month free to one of the leading SEO tools out there called SEMrush. So we actually get 1 month free, which is really cool. And then I also show you like all the free tools that you can use. So during the actual course, you won't have to spend any extra on tools. Now that doesn't mean that when you're done and you want to get into the workforce, you might want to go ahead and invest in some of these tools. But the cool trick about some of these tools are once you know about them, And let's say you have a project that's coming up, just pay like $99 for 1 month, right? You don't have to do a whole year, but use it that month. And then like, if you don't need it next month, then just, cancel it. So there's ways of getting around.
Or do the free month. They usually have like the free 14-day trial. You quickly do your project and then cancel it. Come on.
Although they're getting smarter, so they're like getting it down to 7 days now. So it's a little bit rough, but
you're gonna have to work fast.
Exactly.
Yeah. But also, I mean, come on, like we're basically comparing this to like any other job where you would be paying like $30,000 to $60,000 to $100,000 upfront for the kind of six-figure salary that we're really realistically talking about. So you might have to invest $100. When you have clients, and if you work in an agency, if you get like a job somewhere, they're going to have all the software. So it's not like you'll have to buy anything. I mean, you'll want to have your own functioning like laptop or something. That's about it.
Right.
Okay.
And these days, a lot of jobs will offer, we'll give you a laptop as well. But
right.
But for the course, if you don't have a laptop, then yes, you'll need a laptop.
Right. Yeah, like or a phone that you love. Okay.
Right.
Another question is, okay, do you need a degree for this? I think we sort of covered this, but I guess if you have a degree already, like in any field, I'm guessing that it doesn't hurt, and you could probably build upon that to really get into an industry that like work with those type of clients. Does that make sense? That would be helpful.
I'll give you a wonderful example. So I'm actually running a cohort right now. And in my cohort, it's quite an interesting group. This cohort is mixed. So it's both men and women. The one that's coming up in April 11th is only women. But this one in particular, I've got 3 people who are very, very skilled marketers and who are like, 55, 50, 45. These are people who are like really, really good at marketing. But when it comes to digital, they just don't have the chops. So, and in this cohort, I also have a 19-year-old, right? She didn't go to seminary. She doesn't really know what to do, but her father heard about it and said, hey, this would be really good. So it's amazing. I've got like one of Houston's top marketers, 55, but I also have a 19-year-old. And that's what's so cool, is that there's room for everyone here.
That's so cool. Wow. And so basically like the guy with 40, however many years of experience behind him, he'll probably be able to get like a higher level job, but like the gap will close so quickly. Like as soon as she has like 3 years of experience, if she's good, like she could probably compete with his salary and in just a couple of years. And
what's interesting is one of the ladies, she's actually having a very hard time now getting a job, because even though she's a very seasoned marketer, but she doesn't have some of the skills that maybe make her a little bit more marketable. So she's hoping that by taking this course, not only is she going to take everything that she has, but then add on the digital component, which is really cool for her.
So like the uneducated 19-year-old is having an easier time finding a job than the educated, experienced.
Sometimes, right? Sometimes. I'm not saying that's for everyone, but in this case, like it's a real life case study.
We live in such a crazy world. Yeah. Okay. So then what kind of skills does one need? So I think like to cover that, like literally, if you're more analytical, more geeky, if you're more fun and creative, if you're more introverted, there's work for you to do. If you're more extroverted, there's work for you to do. And I would say to really like, when I look at like a woman's life, right? So like when you're going through like just the stages of, and I'll speak for myself, like stages of marriage and having kids and then, having them a little bit older, like to me, I try and encourage my clients to pick something that they'll be able to change throughout like their families, like lifestyle changes. And to me, like you'll probably do something different. Like right now, I work at a home office. It wasn't always the case, and it probably won't always be the case. So I love that this is something that you can always change, depending on if you feel like a social life or you feel like you have such a busy social life that you would just want work to be like a quiet oasis.
And it's never too late. Like I've got a really close friend here in Houston. She has run her own agency for 10 years, but she decided that like it's just not too rough for her, and she just got a job at a company. So imagine you could be in your own agency for 10 years and then decide, hey, I want to just go and work for a company because I don't want to.
So flexible and versatile.
Like no problem.
It's amazing. Okay, so people are asking about, okay, can we share this with a friend who's not present? I don't know. Is this only available to, we'll follow up with you about that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll follow up. Anyone who was here will get a recording, and then I guess in the email, we'll let you know, sort of who has access to this, who there's permission to share this with. But if you're here, then we're really happy that you are.
But obviously,
Okay.
if you want to tell your friend about the course, like we would love you to. And once again, if you go to odeoacademy.com at the bottom, you can always email us with any questions that you have. So.
Right. Okay. Now, this is a great question. Ariella, thank you. Are a lot of agency jobs able to be remote? Like, are you hiring remote? Would you? Because if somebody's like, I don't want to freelance, should I go into this? Like, I'm going to have a hard time finding a job. What's your answer?
So the answer is even more so post-COVID, or we're kind of still in COVID. But yeah, I mean, the world has gone remote. My own agency, I've gone remote, right? I've got one person in Montana. I've got people in England and in India, right? So the point is, specifically in agencies, they're very open to being remote. So I would say specifically for, let's say, a firm lady, or really anyone, right, who doesn't want to have to go into the office, wants to stay at home, it definitely is a viable option. Now, obviously, there's going to be some companies that want you there. Like, I know my dad, like, as soon as this is over, I want them back in the office, right? but for us, the younger generation, and like, I guess, more open, then I think remote is definitely a possibility.
Also, that means that like someone sitting here in New York or New Jersey could like get a job working for you, and like they never have to get on a plane.
Easily, yes.
It's so cool. Okay. Okay, how much does the course cost? People want to know. So we're going to cover that now, or do you want people to go over to the website?
No, we should cover it. Why don't, let's leave that to the end, I think.
Yeah, because you have something for people.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so hold on. This is a smart question. This was a private question. So if this job is changing all the time, how do you keep up with the new skills? That's a good question. How are you expected to constantly pick up new things?
Sure. So remember, a lot of the skills are the same. It's more like things are changing, like things that you were able to do before, you might not be able to do now, or hey, there's a new opportunity, right? So like Shana said, like we didn't have Clubhouse before, right? Which is a new social network. Now we have Clubhouse. So, let's say you were really good at Snapchat, like you might be good at Clubhouse, right? So, but the way you keep up is there are blogs, industry blogs that we've all follow. Examples are like Moz or Search Engine Journal, Search Engine Land. Those are a couple. I mean, there's more than that, but that you'll follow. I would say another really great place to follow is Twitter. I find most of my information there. You find out sort of who are the influencers in your area, whether it's SEO or paid search or paid social, just depends on what you're focusing on. And you're gonna hear it first there. So it's just a matter of knowing where to get those sources from, whether it's a blog, whether it's a newsletter, or whether it's going to be someone on LinkedIn or on Twitter. And as long as you're following those conversations, you'll be able to stay on top of what's going on.
What I think is going to happen with people in your course is that, like you mentioned, like the Slack channel, right? Like I think that just as valuable as what you're going to teach them, the network of people who are in their course together are probably going to become their really good friends. And people who are going to like keep up, like maybe you'll keep that Slack channel open, or they'll open their own group. I mean, first of all, they always have you as a resource, right? So I'm assuming if someone took your course and there's something new, like a new app, like they're probably going to be kept up to date just because like you're in the loop because you do this for a living. Plus, like I know in my business, like I have my own network of people who are in my field who we just keep, just as like friends, just talking about what's going on. You know what's going on. I mean, it's just like teaching, right? Like, how do you know of this like new reading therapy practice or program? Because you're a teacher, that's how, right?
Right. And to answer about the Slack channel, like I plan on keeping it open as long as we can, because Slack is free, but there's certain things that you can't. But the idea is, yeah, I mean, that should be a resource, and people can, if someone hears something really exciting, let's go on and just share with your classmates from before. And yeah, that like connection can stay on for.
Yeah, just like in the real college experience, like mostly what you're going for is the network. You're getting the exact same network here of people who are really focused on the same goal. Yeah. Another question is, how do I break into the field? We sort of covered this, but maybe you want to give it a specific answer. How do I break into the field without having any experience and without any degree?
Right. So the idea is you need to learn it, and you need to get a little of experience. And what I'm hoping to do with my course is to provide you with both, to give you the foundational understanding of digital marketing and give you that experience. And that's why that portfolio at the end is so important, because it's literally that thing which you can then go and prove people, right? And it's not just, I'm interested, give me a job, but it's more like, I'm interested and look what I've done. I'm ready to come and work for you and show you what I got.
Amazing. Okay. I'm going to read through these next few messages. And then maybe if anybody like wants to just, have a conversation with you and we can unmute them. If anybody like wants sort of, if there's anything more they want to discuss, we'll open up the floor to that. A question that Mushka asked is, do you have analytics on your students and the kind of jobs they have now? So I think this is a pretty new course. I'm guessing that doesn't exist yet, or does it?
So I'll give a good example. So remember, most of my students until now have been at the university level. So it's unfair to compare that apples to apples. But a good example is that last summer, I did this course, not the exact course, but just the videos or like just the teaching I did through the JCC of Greater Coney Island. So no challenges, no portfolio, none of that, right? And someone who took my course, she had a little bit of background in business, but not really digital marketing. But literally after the course, she went to the Jewish Children's Museum, which if you've ever been to, it's really nice in Brooklyn and Crown Heights. And she got a job there as being their marketing manager. And she clearly says it's because of the confidence and the skills that you got. So if someone's able to do that without even like the challenges or the portfolio, I really, really believe that you can take this and move it and go to the next level.
Yeah, guys, I believe it. Like if he's saying that, and he's pretty humble from everything I've learned so far. So now this is a good question. Are good writing skills a prerequisite? For example, would this profession be appropriate for young, capable Israeli immigrant who speaks English, but it's definitely her second language and her grammar isn't the best?
So there's different, like I said, there's different sides, right? So if you're going to be regarding those areas of digital marketing that require writing, obviously for you, it'll be a little bit more challenging, but there are areas where you don't need to write. So it's just a matter of finding that arena, right? So like I could talk more in depth about it another time, but the idea is there are situations where you would be able to not necessarily write or, get your writing to be better. Another option would also be is that the fact that you speak Hebrew, why not take that with a Hebrew company, right? And just because you don't live in Israel, but there's tons of Israeli companies that you could help as well. So it really just depends. But remember, some of my people who work for me, like I do some outsourcing to India, and some of those people don't, they might write good English for India, but in the United States, it's not like really good American English. So, but they're working, they do well. So there is room for you. It's just, you have to find the right spot.
Yeah, I always try to remind people that, like, people who think that, whose English is a second language, like you go into a college classroom and like almost, for sure less than half of the people there speak English like fluently, right? Like in any college, in any profession. So, right, if the Indians can do it, they're doing great on LinkedIn. You just see them like really, right. Okay, so that's a good answer. Now, someone private messaged me, what's the likeliness of you hiring someone who went through a good course? And you've done that many times, right?
Yeah, so half my staff are people who took my course. So I do, like, that's what I tell people, that what I'm teaching you here is what I teach my own staff. And yeah, people who've taken my course, I've hired. So can I guarantee if we have 100 people taking the course, am I going to hire all 100? No, I'm not able to do that. Please God, one day. But, there's definitely a possibility of that happening.
Right. Okay. Amazing. Okay. Someone wants to be called on, so we'll do that soon. What's the range of hours a week that you need to put into this job? That's a good question.
I guess the question is the job or the course, right? So which one should we answer?
No, I think they mean the job, right? Well, actually, that's a good question too. So let's do that.
So course-wise, I would say it's about 6 to 8 hours a week. What that practically means is 4 nights a week, you're doing about an hour and a half to 2 hours, which is really not that bad. And some weeks are going to be less, some might be a little bit more, but it should be manageable. Whether you do like an hour in the afternoon, for lunch, or an hour in the evening, we've made it in a way where it should be manageable. Now, with regards to working, the job of how many hours, once again, like if you're a freelancer, then you're going to make your own schedule. If you want to make more money, you're going to work more. If you want to make less, you work less. And then jobs, a lot of these are 9 to 5, but if, agencies usually expect you to work a little bit longer hours. So it just depends.
Right. I could tell you that like around here, I know people who've asked me, do you know anybody who's willing to work for me for 2 hours a day, right? From people who are looking to hire full time. But it's like one of the fields where a lot of times people start off like very part time, like 5 hours a week. And then if you're good, you can easily take on a lot more people, or they'll fill up your hours, right?
Yeah, and Shane, I think that's a good point. Like literally, imagine you take the course and then you find one business that's like, we don't really have enough money for a full-time person, but we like have enough money to do 4 or 5 hours. And then you could start like doing 4 or 5 hours, but you don't realize like that's going to just open it up and you're like, oh wow, this is cool. And then you'll move on like, okay, let's find another company or another, or maybe let me get a full-time job. So, it might start off slow, but that beginning is going to be like the beginning.
But it's really cool that in like a couple of hours a week or a month, you can make an extra 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, like just extra money. And it's something that you can literally do from your phone at home. And I know people who do this. So I'm not just saying this because you said it. I'm saying from personal experience. And then also about like the course. So if I'm not the kind of person who like wants to give up my, evening every evening, can I just like sit down all Sunday and do it? Is that an option?
Definitely. So think about it. If we're saying 6 to 8 hours, so you kind of would have to use your Sunday to do it. But yeah, you should be able to do it as well.
Yeah, I'm the kind of person who like I would just like sit down 9 to 5 on Sunday and then knock it out for the week.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
But remember, one thing to mention, we do have the live Q&A. So that is usually going to be sometime during the week. And if you can't make it, that's okay, because it's going to be recorded and you'll get to watch it anyhow. Everything's recorded. And then Ariella's asking just really quickly, what time or day will that be? It really depends, right? If everyone in the course is from New York, then it will be one time. But if we've got people in Israel and England, we might have to think about like maybe more midday, or we might switch off like 1 week midday, 1 week evening. So I don't know. It really depends on what the different people who are going to be part of the course. But I'm going to try to find a time that's going to work best for a majority of people.
Right. You'll get to vote basically.
Exactly.
And probably like if someone's not able to come to the Q&A, they could submit their question and you can answer it.
Exactly. We're going to and I give priority. Whoever submits ahead of time, that's what we cover.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. So as long as you submit it, it will be answered.
This is a very thoughtful question that Rena's asking. Like, what if you're not savvy in popular culture? Is that going to be a problem?
So
like if you don't watch movies or follow social media in general.
So that's why, if you think about it, in my course, I told you, we don't really focus on organic social media, right? So I'm not kind of leaving that out. What we're more dealing with is websites, advertising on Google, advertising on social media. So it's not really about pop culture. It's not, right? It's more outside of that. So I've kind of done that on purpose so that people who, let's say, like I had someone who signed up and, they were unsure because they're not really on social media, but it seems like they weren't even on the internet much anyhow, right? So for them, it wasn't right for them. But, someone who's doesn't have a Facebook account, you can still do this, right? You might not focus on the paid social side of things. You might focus more on the Google side, but that's okay, right? You don't have to do everything. So hopefully that explains it a little bit better.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like, I've met these people on LinkedIn who are like super orthodox, very religious, and you wouldn't believe the accounts that they're behind. I'm just saying, like you think you have to be like very like, out there, like you have no idea who's writing these ads. Like just, it could be you,
It's true.
Yeah. So Ariella asked about what's the level of flexibility? Okay, we discussed that sort of. Definitely, if you feel like your question wasn't answered like all the way, for sure, follow up with us. And then finding an internship. Do you get involved with that at all? Helping people find jobs or internships?
So I'll tell you two things. So number one, my job here is I really want to see you have a job, right? So the point is that when people are finished the course, I want to myself let people know, hey, I've got, 10, 20, 30 really good people, world, come get them, right? So that's going to be number one. Number two, there is an option. There's two levels of that you can pay for the course. The higher level gives you 4 hours of one-on-one time with me. And the point of that is that after the course, either let's say you actually want to run a campaign and have me do it with you. That would be one way of using it. The other would be like coaching you or just like helping you, whatever you need to kind of get you to that next step. So, you don't have to take that, but that's sort of an extra level. The third thing is, which is really cool, there's a company, I'm not going to mention them, but they're actually an internship company, and they found out about Odeo Academy, and I'm having a call with them this week because they want to put up a partnership together that people who take the course, can we stick them into their program to find internships in digital marketing? So that's not a for sure yet, but it is something that I'm working on.
Yeah, I think you people are going to be snatched up. I mean, I don't think it's a hard job to find. I get asked this question so often if I know anybody good for it. I think it's harder to find a job as like a social worker or an accountant than this, you know? Does it focus on web design or mainly just bringing your website to the top of Google Ads?
So we'll talk about what's important in a website, because think about it, web designers, they design it based off of aesthetics and how it looks, right? But they don't always think about what's going to be good for the search engines. So we're going to focus more about designing a website for search engines and searchers, so the people and the robots. So it's not actually like a web design course, but it's going to teach you the best practices, so that therefore you could work with a web designer. Because I'll tell you, most web designers have no idea about SEO, and they actually do the opposite. They'll actually destroy SEO, specifically on old sites and so on and so forth. But the point is, you would be able to work with a web designer and put them in the right direction. And if you already know how to design and you're like a graphic designer, then even better, you're going to have those skills so that you'll be able to tell people like, I know SEO and design, not just design.
Amazing. Okay, I like that. So you just like, you have to understand it, but it's not like you have to be an expert at it.
Right.
Okay, so I'm just going to put the spotlight on somebody who asked to put out a question. Let me just find you again. Where'd you go? I had him a second ago. Okay, you are. Okay. Okay, yes. Okay, go for it. You're unmuted, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Hi, Danny. Nice to see you again. Nice to talk with you again. So I have a couple of questions. Hopefully some of my question maybe answer someone else's question. So I kind of brought it as we go. My first question is machine learning taking over. I see that into the Google kind of getting into that data processing and machine learning, and they're pushing for display ads and stuff like that. So is there something that we might see in the future that taking over? Also, in your the second question, sorry, analytics basics. So are we going to just go with the Google Analytics and ads analytics, or are we going to third parties setting up your own analytics in that course? Also, how much HTML and Java we will cover in adding the cookies or just the tracking? And will you help us with setting our own, how to manage the business part of the doing your own marketing on like your freelancer, for example? That's like like 4 questions I'll ask right now. So sorry for that.
Okay, so I'll do my best to go through it, and then we'll keep going. But machine learning is definitely something that is coming into all areas of the world. But I think there's always going to be room for good marketers, and I don't think that a good marketer can be outsourced completely. With regards to HTML and some of those things, you'll learn some of the basics in the class. You don't have to know HTML, but we're not going to also, you're not going to, if you want to take an HTML course, I can show you a really good one to take, right? But that's not the point of our class. With regards to analytics, we are focusing only on Google Analytics and let's say analytics related to Google Ads. And then finally, giving you the tools to run your own business. We don't actually have like a section which is like, if you want to run your own business, but that's definitely an area where we will have Q&As within week 11 through 14, or sorry, 12 through 15. And during that time, people can really ask anything. So that's an example of something that if that's a discussion that the group wants to have, I'd be glad to discuss it.
Love it. Okay, great questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Got it. Okay, so anyone else, if you've asked the question and we didn't get to it, I'm bad at math. Will that make a difference? I want to say no. What do you say?
Oh, sorry, say the question one more time.
Sorry. The question was, I'm bad at math, which I feel like people ask in every profession, and it never matters, but will make a difference if you're bad at math.
I mean, the point is, like, we're not asking you to, write your numbers on, on a piece of paper, right? Sometimes you're going to have to add or subtract, but then you have like a spreadsheet where you just put the information in and you'll be able to figure it out. So like, don't worry. And once again, remember, there's room for analytical and creative, right? So if you feel like you're not as analytical and you want to go more to creative side, so then it's just a matter of finding those things that are going to be more creativity, less numbers. So there's room for you as well.
Amazing. Yeah, I think there's so many types of jobs. It's hard to compare this to another field, right? Like where there's so many options. And then Rena wanted to know, is it all lecture or also textbook, right?
So it's lecture, but there's slides. So you'll get copies of the slides. And then I do have a resources section of blog posts on the internet that I feel are really good. So I recommend that you read those as well during the course. You don't have to, it's extra, but if you're like loving the topic and you want to go more, like here are like 5 blog posts, read, and it will help you even further.
Wow, okay. So let's get down to pricing and the special thing that you have for here.
Okay, wonderful. Let me share my screen because I think that will be the easiest way. So I think what's really important is content only courses of this level begin at about $2,000. And at the university level, courses like this can begin at $5,000 minimum and can take an average of 9 months to complete. Specifically for Odeo, what we're doing is like I said, there's the Pro version and the VIP version. So Pro is $14.95 or 4 payments of $3.95. And then for the VIP version, which gives you an additional 4 hours of one-on-one time with me, that's going to be $24.95 or 4 payments of $6.25. Now, what's really important is that I'm offering a risk-free guarantee. And what that means is that if you get into the course and after 21 days, you have done everything that you need to, right? You've watched the videos, you've taken the challenges, you've done everything, and you still feel like this is something that's not for you, then you will get a full money back guarantee, which is really, really amazing, right? Because I basically want people, if you really feel like it's not yours, but you have to give your all, right? You got to give your all and see that whether it's for you or not. A good example, somebody's taking my course right now. After the first week, they're like, man, this is tough. I don't know if it's for me. I'm like, well, I've never heard you ask any questions, right? Why don't you start asking questions? Because I want to answer them. And I want you to succeed. So that's just a good example where we're here to help you succeed. So
I feel like this course is going to go up next year because that's like a really, really cheap. That's a lot cheaper than I expected.
Yes, it is a lot cheaper. And remember, this is sort of the beta. So we've just started one cohort, which was both men and women. We're currently in week 3 or 4. And this one that we're specifically offering now is specifically for women's only. We're focusing specifically on women's only. That's particularly for the Orthodox Jewish community, for women who feel a little bit more comfortable to be in a women's only setting. So that is going to be starting April 11th. Very conveniently, it's a week after Pesach. So it's after all the craziness and you can get started and get going. For those people in the room who are not women, who are men, we are definitely going to have other cohorts, and just not now, but definitely somewhere between Q3 or Q4 of this year, we'll have another. So you just have to stay tuned, make sure you're on our email list, and be ready for the next time that we launch a general cohort.
Oh, let's say you took the course and then you want to refresh your 6 months and a year. So are there any options open to people who are already people who took the course?
So the nice thing is the actual course online module you will have access to for your life, right? So it's not like afterwards you'll get it off, but if you want to go in and watch any of the videos, you can definitely go in. It's going to be available to you. I don't want to say forever because maybe who knows, right? But that's the idea. But then additional courses and additional things, I'm sure, right now I don't have a LinkedIn ads module, but we may be offering that later. So there'll be other options to purchase other educational opportunities. But the core course that you'll have available to, even 12 months from now.
So you're saying for less than the price of a shaitel, a cheap shaitel, you could potentially get land or a close to 6-figure job or freelance business within 3 months is really what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, once again, it's not guaranteed, but it provides, once again, we say in Yiddishkeit, right? We have to make the keli, we have to make the vessel, and Hashem, puts the bracha into the vessel. So this is about creating that vessel. And it's a pretty good vessel, right? It's gold, it's diamond encrusted with a couple emeralds here and there. But the idea is that, yes, creating that, this is the best investment.
To me, even when I spend money on courses, because I love taking courses, I don't consider it money spent. I really consider it the best investment because I don't know any other investments. the Roth IRA or whatever it is, right? Like, I don't know any other investments that pay back so quickly, like so nicely over so many years, right?
And I think, and once again, I want to stress the point you said before, this price is not going to be the same price again, right? This is really just offering, opening it up and giving people the first chance to experience this. But next time around, the price will definitely be up.
I mean, Danny, I've seen courses like this for 10,000.
No. This should be 10,000, but we got to start somewhere, right?
No, like literally buy it tonight before.
Exactly, basically.
What are the prerequisites? Someone asked in a private message, sorry. What's prerequisites you need to know to do the course?
There's no prereqs. Like, the point is, I want you to come in, and you don't need, obviously if you've been on computers, if you've, it might be easier, but really anyone who comes in, if you put in the hard work, you should be able to do it.
I think we clarified the younger and less educated you are, the easier time you're gonna have.
Potentially.
Will we get a syllabus of the course?
So syllabus, like if you go to the website right now, we actually show exactly the syllabus, exactly what you're learning each week. So you don't even have to sign up for that. The syllabus is there. And then obviously once you sign up, the syllabus, but this will be there.
It's free. You can actually Google all those things and then come back for the course because you're not going to find this on Google. Thank you, Ariel. I see you put that in. Okay. Any other questions that were important? So when you said like you'll get access, lifetime access to this, what if you upgrade it? Like if you add more classes or bonuses or whatever, will we get access to that?
You're saying if you so I think it depends, right? I think anything that's related to the course, the core components of the course, anything that will add on will be available. If it's a new aspect that hasn't been covered, like I'll give you an example. In the course, we're not covering LinkedIn ads, right? So if that would be sort of something that's non-included. But let's say there's a new Google Analytics update and I've just shot a new video about that, I will want to stick that into the core module, and then you could go in and check it out.
Right. Okay. Oh, sorry, somebody's not muted. Let me just. Okay. So now, got it. Okay. So head over to the site. Any other questions? You can message either of us privately here while we're still here, and yeah, I would suggest signing up tonight. I mean, in my mind, the way that I look at the year and the calendar is, so like in a week and a half is Pesach, and signing up now means that like I know that like April 5th is the last day. No, is the day after Pesach, is the Monday after Pesach. Right. Okay, so your kids are going back to school Tuesday, the 6th. So then that gives you time to like put everything away, clean up, you like make another Shabbos, and then the 11th is like Monday. So everyone's like, being in school is back in school. You're either back at work or really not happy that you're back at work, and you'll be very happy that you're in this course, right?
Exactly. So the time is now.
Yeah. Okay. So please, if you're interested, sign up, grab this price for tonight. And thank you so much for joining us here.